Today we are continuing with Tripura Rahasyam chapter 3. We had started a new chapter last week, so we are continuing with the new chapter. And today is a story time. So we'll be just going through a story, a very unique story which gives you the meaning of life. You have to understand it in a very beautiful manner, that is in a spiritual context. All right? So let us begin the story. So we are doing Tripura Rahasyam chapter 3 verse 12. In former times there was a king of Dasarna called Muktachuda. His two sons were Hemachuda and Manichuda. Now, both were of good form, of good qualities and proficient in all sciences. Sometimes, due to their desire of hunting, the two princes of great strength, carrying bows and arrows, entered, as they say, a terrible forest in the Sahaya mountains, full of lions and tigers, surrounded by their armies. Now, Dattatreya is telling Parshuram a story. This story happened way back in time. So there was a king. Now his name was Muktachuda. And the kingdom was called Dasarna. And this is near the Sahaya mountains. It is basically, Sahaya mountains is in central India. Currently it is called the Sahyadris. Sahyadris. This is a very big mountain range. It cuts across India, middle center. And it had fantastic forests around it. During the olden times also there were large forests over there. The vegetation was vast. The reason is because there are important rivers flowing through that. One river on the northern side is called the Narmada. The one on the southern side, on the other side, is called the Godavari. So these are rivers and this mountain range is in between. So it is a fertile land. It's a very beautiful land, and from there and this had a lot of wild animals. Earlier, the kings and the queens and everybody connected, their job was it was basically like you have today, a hockey, football or all those kind of games. It was like a game. So for them to go and hunt was a game. So they went for this game, the two sons of this king. One son's name was Hemachuda. He is the main character of this story, Hemachuda. And his brother Manichuda. So there were two brothers and they went together riding horses, and the king's sons, these are princes. So naturally they go in a big procession. That means they will have a lot of hunters along with them. So while they were going with their armies, they are entering this very dense forest. Then they killed there, and their sharp arrows coming out of their bows with ease, deer, lions, boars, buffaloes, wolves. When the two princes were thus hunting wild animals, a fierce storm sprang up, showering down sand and stones. The sky was covered with dust and became like the night during new moon. There nothing was seen, rock, tree or man. How can one see high or low? Thus the mountain was surrounded by darkness, struck by the shower of gravel. The army ran away completely. Some in the army went towards the trees for protection, some approached caves and some rocks. The two princes mounted on their horses also escaped far away. So now what happened over there was, while they were hunting, they hunted a lot of animals, wild animals. There was a practice of hunting animals by every king, not just, Hemachuda and all that. I'm sorry, it is an accepted fact. Every king, okay, because it was like a trophy to them. So they will carry that animal with them and they will put it up as a trophy. Their bravado, I've killed this animal. Like it's a common thing. Hunting is very common in the olden times. Please remember, hunting came from the beginning of time. There was no cooked food anywhere. Alright? So how were the people who were living in caves eating? They were eating uncooked raw meat by killing animals. They were more or less like a carnivorous kind of a creature. So our ancestry is like that. We were all, that means our ancestors were all non-vegetarian. They will eat whatever animal that they get. It is a hypocritical statement today when people say, okay, we are vegetarians. Well, your bloodline itself is a non-vegetarian. You can't be a vegetarian from any angle. Common sense will tell you. And even great kings and queens also used to go and hunt for animals. What do you think they hunted for? If they hunted a deer, it for the meat, venison, you know that. If it was some boar was also meant for that. And everybody was involved in this action. I was a kid many years ago. I was a very small boy. And I saw a lot of weapons in my house. In Bandra, in that place where I was staying. A lot of weapons. There were spears. There were swords. Different kinds of swords. There were guns also. And there were bones and a lot of stuff. So there was a fish bone also. And for me, I was a very curious person. So I used to go and touch all these things and try to find out what exactly is this. So one day I carried that big sword-like thing and went to my grandmother to ask her, what is this? So she told me, this is a fish bone. I said, fish bone? But it looks more like a sword, it has got point like this and there were barbs coming out. She said to me that it is a fish and it has got a snout like that in front. So it must be some kind of a fish which has got one protrusion in front with a sword-like thing. Okay, maybe. And then I went on exploring more and more. And then I came to know that my forefathers were hunters. And then she told me, and it was a shocker to me because I said, how can you be like this? What were you hunting? They don't like, I wouldn't like as a kid, to somebody to go and hunt. So she said, no, your forefathers were hunters. And they would go out in the jungles and hunt. And they killed boars and all these animals and brought it home. I said, you're such inhuman people. How can you do like this? So it was like that. But it is a part and parcel of life. We have to accept it. Hypocrisy will, bring us to a point where we don't want to accept it. But remember this. This is a very, very common thing across the world. Not just in India. Everywhere in the world. We were hunter warriors. If you go to the Bible and the stories predating Bible, there also you will find the same thing. So, let us come back to this story. So here Hemchuda and his brother have gone inside the jungle and suddenly it starts raining. Now remember, they are on their horses and they are gone inside. Now when you enter a forest, there is a clearing also and there is forest on one side. Mostly you know this, how it is. So when it started pouring, literally everybody started dispersing. There were no umbrellas at that time. The kind of umbrellas, portable umbrella, took like that we will open. Just imagine the king having a portable umbrella. No, nothing like that. So there were people who had chhatri on top of his head. Chhatri means a big umbrella so that he gets protected. But the common folks never had anything. So they all dispersed. Some went into the jungle, some went under the trees to take shelter, some went under rocks, some went to the caves. And these two young boys, you can't even call them young men, prince, they also started running with their horses. they also dispersed. Now, some went towards the trees for protection, some approached caves, some rocks. The two princes mounted on their horses also escaped far away. Hemachuda reached the hermitage of an ascetic somewhere there. The hermitage was beautiful and full of thicket of plantain and date trees. So Hemachuda comes to this place. There is a very small hut over there. And this belongs to a hermit. Okay. Now, this hermitage was very beautiful. It had a garden around it. There were some very beautiful trees planted. Plantains, plantains means bananas. There were banana trees and so on and so forth. And date palms. There he saw a beautiful maiden shining like a flame of fire with a body having the luster of molten gold. Now imagine, you see right in the middle of nowhere, bang in the middle of a very thick forest, a small house. Reminds me of Little Red Riding Hood. All the poems of the past were like this only. Snow White or Little Red Riding Hood or God knows, all these stories started like this only. A very romantic kind of a thing, You get to meet the princess. And here there was a beautiful princess bang in the middle of that place. And just imagine, like Hindi cinema, she is standing over there putting water to the plants and singing songs and running around trees. I mean, just imagine this scene. Our Bollywood films love to do this kind of scene. So think like that. Maybe it is, inspired by this kind of scenery. Because I guess most of these kind of stories have this kind of a beginning somewhere. So, this maiden was shining like a flame of fire. Now he is describing her. Shining like a flame of fire. Now what happens to him? Naturally. And there is a burst of flame from within him also. Having seen her beautiful like a lotus, the prince, also smiling as it were, asked, "Who are you, lotus-faced one? You are dwelling in a lovely forest causing fear, but remain as if you are fearless. To whom do you belong, and why and how do you live here alone?" Now, all those people who are, feminists or whatever, they will say misogynistic statements over here. A woman cannot belong to somebody. But our scriptures are replication of what happened in the past. So the past was like this. We have to accept it. Okay. So here there is a beautiful girl standing over there. And this person who Hemachuda, he is on a horseback. And he comes to this place. He sees this beautiful house over there, garden, and there's beautiful maiden over there. And she's alone over there. So he is a little worried about it. He says, "You are alone over here. What are you doing in the middle of nowhere?" So it's in the middle of nowhere. Imagine with all those tigers and lions and all those. Remember, he has killed so many of those creatures. And on top of it, suddenly in the middle of nowhere, you're finding one angel standing over there. It is really very strange. So he's asking her the question. He says, "What are you doing over here? This lonely forest. This forest is so fearsome with so many animals, creatures, and so much of bad things happening around. But you are remaining fearless. You are roaming around in this garden as if there is nothing wrong in this world." I mean, think about it. A young maiden in a place in the middle of nowhere, okay, and she is fearlessly going around here and there. Thus asked, the blameless maiden told the prince, "Prince, welcome to you. Please accept this seat, because the worship of the guest is the duty of ascetics. I see you are wearied, afflicted by the fear storm." So, the question which the prince asked her, "Whom do you belong and why do you live here alone?" The question is valid. Because first and foremost, in the middle of nowhere, absolutely nowhere, you find a beautiful girl. And that too, she is fearless and all that. So naturally the question arises, who are you? Are you a goddess? Are you something like that? Are you a princess? Who are you? Somebody must be there to protect you. See, the idea that a man has to protect a woman is very much valid during these olden times. And you will come to know this is not a story of that. This is totally a different story. So just now, his thinking is like this. A man's thinking is always, he thinks that he is the one who is going to protect his family. He is the one who is going to be, responsible for the family. He thinks that he owns the family. The ownership, the responsibility, the everything according to the world. A man's way of thinking is, I am the, macho person. I take care of the family. You are allowed to think like that. And exactly what he does. He is telling her, who do you belong to? As if she belongs to someone. The strange part about our culture is the girl is supposed to take the name of the father when she is not married. In her name, you will find her father's name is there. And after she gets married, her husband's name is attached. So it is as if her father is the protective person and then her husband is the protective person. She doesn't have an identity of her own. The man then establishes his identity when he is married to a woman. The woman has to keep his name in between. This was how the world was earlier. And naturally, a kind of a dependency came up. I will not blame the males also, because the women started believing in this concept that I belong to someone. That was wrong. Nobody belongs to anybody. Everybody is independent. Where spiritual is concerned, remember, you are not the body. So how can you belong to someone? You are not a dog. Oh, this is my pet Pomeranian. Look at it. Oh, this is my pet Chihuahua. And this is my pet daughter. Are you classifying this as animals? That was wrong. So naturally his question was wrong. And the girl didn't say anything. And she said, see, you are a guest in my place. The first thing that I got to do is I got to welcome you, because a guest is always to be welcomed. This is the culture and this is the Sanskriti of our land over here. You have to welcome everybody. Anybody who comes to the house has to be given maybe a glass of water, maybe a cup of tea. In olden times, they would give them, water and a little bit of jaggery. Jaggery what it is, Or sometimes they would make some kind of a liquid stuff and give it. And if time permitted, they would make something and give for having it, like snacks or something. Or while in the afternoon, you have to serve the meal. You are not supposed to ask the person. Please understand this. You are not supposed to ask him, would you like to eat in my house? No. No. Your job is to offer it. Offering the meal is most important. So you offer it. This is the system. And we have to follow it even today. Offering meal is a very, very important part of our culture. So we have to follow that. So welcome to you. Please accept this seat. So you give them a seat. This is Sthan Grahan Karna. Sthan means a place. You can sit over here. So there is a place in every house where when the guests come, they are welcomed in that place. Because the worship of the guest is the duty of ascetics. Those who are holy people, their job is to worship them. Always understand one thing, the reason. Do you know the reason why we have to worship these people when they come? The reason is because we consider them as God. Remember, Jesus Christ also said the same thing. Because you will not know when the God comes, isn't it? Okay. So we have to be ready for the divine. So if a guest comes like that, be ready for the guest. The guest could be, he looks like an ordinary person. He may be some friend of yours. He may be some enemy of yours. Doesn't matter. Welcoming the guest is very important. How do you know he is not God who is come to test you out? Dattatreya is who, the story itself starts from that. Do you know this? The gods come to visit his mother. Don't you know the story? The gods, they come to visit his mother and she welcomes them. When they come in, she offers them food and water and all that. They said, no, we don't want like this. Now these are Brahmins, knowers of Brahma. So they asked her something else. In the same way, here, Hemachuda has come. Hemalekha, sorry, I should not have revealed the name, no? So this girl is welcoming. She says, please come in. I want to offer you something. I see you are wearied because you have traveled quite a lot. Your horse is wearied. Remember, there must have been muck all over the place. It was raining and so on and so forth. Afflicted by the fierce storm. Having tied the horse to the date tree and sitting there with your fatigue departed, you can hear my history. Thus told, he did accordingly. So what she said, go tie your horse to that tree over there. Please come and sit. And you want to know about me? Please sit over here. I'll offer you something. Then you can tell me what. Then you can ask me and I will tell you. She fed him with fruits and made him drink good water. The blameless maiden told the prince, who had obtained rest thus, with words tender in form and exuding sweetness. Prince Vyagrapada, the sage, who was resorted to the feet of Lord Shiva, and by whom the most holy worlds have been won by the strength of his penance, is the knower of reality, of all truth, all-inclusive truth, and is even worshipped by distinguished sages. I am his daughter, adopted by a sense of duty, known as Hemalekha. Sometimes a celestial woman by name Vidyut Prabha, beautiful in her entire body, came to bathe in the river Veena. At that time, Susena, the king of Vanga, came there as a matter of course. He saw that woman, beautiful in her class, bathing in the river, with her large breasts very much visible within her wet garment. Now, seems like a story from some other book, but let us come back to the story. So she is telling, this girl is telling the prince, see, this particular place, it belongs to a great sage. Vyagrapada. Vyagra means tiger. Tiger, you know tiger? So he is the lords of the tiger. So he can stay in the jungle, of course. Like you have the lord of the jungle, like that. So he's a Vyagrapada. His name is also tiger. Okay, so he is there. And he is a knower of truth. That means he is an enlightened sage. Other sages also come to visit him. And he has done a tremendous amount of penance in his life. She says, I am his daughter, but not in the way you think. See, please understand one thing. The sages in the past never got married or had any relationships with their wives or something like that. The sages from the past, it seems that they had a lot of children, hundreds of children. This is mentioned in the scriptures. But these are not children born out of a woman and a man coming together. Sorry, that is not how it was. These sages were called gurus. They were masters, great masters. And these children who were there were left behind by their parents. They had different set of parents and they wanted their children to learn everything. Okay? So the kings, the queens, the paupers or whoever they were, what they did was they dropped their children with these great sages so that they can learn in a Gurukul. So this place was a Gurukul where things were taught. What are the different things that were taught? If you see in the previous page, it is mentioned that both the prince, they were educated, proficient in science, 13 and 14. Both were of good form, good qualities, and proficient in all sciences. Naturally, when you are proficient in science, you have learned something. So these sages would teach the children. So it was kind of a schooling that was done. Not that there were no schools inside the city where they lived, but the great kings of the past wanted the best of the education which only a guru can give. That is why Sri Ram got the education from Vashishta Muni and Vishwamitra both. Vashishta was his main teacher. So he had to stay there for many years. So this was an avatar. Correct? Likewise, another avatar was Sri Krishna. And when Sri Krishna is there, he also has to get training. You may wonder, why is it that God Almighty who is born here has to take a training from another guru? The reason is because everybody is covered. Even if God Almighty is born on the earth, the first life of his, whatever that he is doing, he is not born enlightened kind of a thing. He has to be covered by means of Maya, and the entire Prakriti covers him up. And then it takes time and training by the master to unveil this, to remove all these coverings. It is then a person becomes enlightened, or then a person becomes knowledgeable. That is the reason why these sages used to call these children who came over there as Guru Putra or Guru Putris. Do you understand? So these are all Guru Putras or Guru Putris. They are their children, kind of. Guardians in the English word. They would take care of these children. So she says, I am his daughter, adopted by a sense of duty. Adopted by a sense of duty. This was a child found in the jungle, and this particular sage, Vyagrapada, adopted this child. So how did it come about? So there was a celestial woman. Celestial women means what? See, please understand, during the olden times, there was a class of women who are called Mohinis, Rambas, Urvashis and all. They came from a particular heaven. Today also they are there. But you cannot recognize them, because they look like ordinary human beings. But the quality of theirs, I will explain to you what is their quality. One is they are very beautiful. Second is their bodies are literally very flexible. Third is they know arts like dancing and singing and all. They have a musical ability. Got it? They have a dancing ability. They are dancers, singers, and so on and so forth. They are artists. And they are good looking. And they come from a heaven. This heaven is exclusive to them. What was their job, you may ask? Their job was, when the gods were there in their heaven, these beautiful women would go and entertain them by dancing and singing and all that. Please do not mistake it as a kind of a prostitution. I'm sorry, please don't mix these two together. No, that's not the truth. These women were very beautiful and they were pak, they were absolutely pure. They had certain qualities with them. Think of them, the way he has described this girl, okay? Naturally, you will understand that she comes from a lineage of a great person. So she says, there was a very beautiful celestial woman called Vidyutta Prabha. Okay? The sunrise, which is celestial sunrise or the shining bright kind of a thing. I mean, think about the name. Spark. Okay? Like the early morning sun. And her entire body was like that. She came to bathe in the river Veena. So there was a tributary, a branch of this river, Vena, Veena. So she was taking a bath over there. At that moment in time, the king of another country called Vanga, his name was Susena. So he seemed to come over there as a matter of course. Like remember, this prince also has strayed inside a forest. So this king also came over there. He saw this woman. And naturally, when you see a woman like that, you are going to be very much attracted towards her. So this particular king, Susena, was very much attracted towards this beautiful lady. There the prince, struck by the arrows of Cupid, prayed for her companionship, and she, fascinated by his beauty, consented to his words. Then the king, having associated with her, went to his city. That celestial woman too bore a child in her womb due to the seminal energy of the royal sage. So Susena himself was a sage. Okay? So naturally, this lady, she agrees, and that is the reason why they mate, and then this particular child is taking shape in her. So, afraid of her husband on account of the improper conduct, she in due course went away, leaving the fetus there. Due to the unfailing energy of the kingly sage, I was consequently born as her daughter. This particular lady, Vidyutta Prabha, she was already a married woman. Alright? And naturally, if she becomes pregnant, it is not proper, to have this baby within her. So what she did was, she gave birth to this child, a fetus, a small baby, in the jungle itself, near that river, Veena. And she went away. Now, so I was consequently born as her daughter. Vyagrapada, who had come there for worshipping Sandhya for his daily meditation, taking me out of compassion, protected me like a mother. He who is dutifully a protector is indeed declared as a father only. I am his lawful daughter, devoted to the service of the father. On account of his greatness, there is no fear at all for me anywhere here. The hermitage cannot be entered at any time, even by gods or demons with wicked intentions. Entering with such intentions, one would meet with destruction. This is my history, has been declared to you, Prince. Stay for a while. Now, what happens was, the lady gives birth to the child and she leaves the child there itself, at the banks of this river. The sage Vyagrapada was coming for his daily evening meditation. You understand? So, that is called Sandhya. Sandhyas are there twice in a day, basically morning and evening. You have to do meditation during this particular hour, because you can get spiritual will during that time. Remember, those who have joined my course, you know why you have to do the meditation during this time. Because this is the Kumbhaka of the earth. So when you do meditation or whatever, during this time, it has a lot of fruits attached to it. Alright, so that's besides the point. So he had come for meditation. He saw this beautiful girl lying there. So he took her in his arms and said, I will take care of you. And like a father, he took care of this baby. So he is a protector of this girl. Okay? And anybody, any man who is behaving in such manner should be called as the father. You have a person in your life who is of that kind, who takes care of you, then he is your lawful father. There was a very strange incident where people were saying, they say that the mother and the father are to be worshipped first, and then God and then Guru. No, it's not like that. The one who first takes care of you, that person. If the Guru is the one who is taking care of you, then he becomes your father. So the father is always different. Somebody who is taking care of you. Doesn't mean that he is going to spoon feed you or something like that. Okay, please don't be under this impression. So it means rearing you, bringing you up. That is the kind of a thing. Or taking care of all your needs. So on account of this greatness of Vyagrapada, the sage, what happened was, his power was so great that nobody could enter this domain in the middle of the forest. So the forest was there, this hut was there in the middle, and this girl was there alone. She was a young girl. Naturally, the tigers, lions, all kinds of demons or whoever can come over there, but they didn't have the guts to come. Even the gods couldn't come over there. Because Vyagrapada was an enlightened sage and his protection over there was tremendous. So because of this, nobody could enter over there. And this is how she lived over there. He, my revered father, will arrive. See, listen to him. Having saluted him and having obtained your wish, you will depart afterwards at daybreak. Having heard the words of Hemlekha, the prince, fascinated by her beauty and frightened to speak anything to her, became, as it were, disconsolate. Naturally, think about it. You are going to meet a person who is afraid. I mean, even the tigers and the lions are afraid of. It is literally like he was very upset about it. He said, how am I to face this person? Okay. So she says, you hang on over here. Wait till my father comes. Okay. Till Vyagrapada comes. Once he comes, you meet him, pay your respects to him, and then whatever you want to ask him. Okay. And then you can leave. Alright. So you be here. But the prince was very upset and very disconsolate because he didn't know what to do. Now, he can't go away from there also because it was dark outside. So she said, you hang on over here. Okay. When there is a daybreak, that means the next morning, please go then. Then seeing the prince come under the influence of love, the wise maiden said again, Prince, have fortitude. My father will come quickly, then receive what is desired. When she was speaking thus, Vyagrapada, the great sage, arrived from the forest after collecting leaves and flowers of daily worship. Having seen the sage who had arrived, the prince got up. Having bowed to him, reporting his name, he sat down directed by him. Then seeing the prince whose appearance had been affected by love and knowing everything by his yogic vision and considering as proper, the sage therefore handed over that Hemlekha to him for marriage. So what happens? After some time, the great sage comes. Vyagrapada comes over there. Now remember, he is an Antarjnani. Antarjnani means he knows your hearts, whatever you are thinking in the heart. Great sages have this ability of recognizing what is happening in the other person's heart. Okay, they can read the mind of that person also. So naturally when he comes and the prince gets up and is touching his feet or doing whatever that is necessary, the sage comes to know exactly what is going on in his mind. And he says, okay, I understand that you have fallen in love with this girl. Though she is my daughter, but naturally, the story is that you are going to get married to her. Naturally, the sage has a very clear idea about it. So he says to him, so why don't you take this girl along with you and go? And that is the reason why he says, now you please take this girl. She is a very, very beautiful person and a very kind and a considerate person. Now think about it. The father is letting some vague person from somewhere go away. But actually the prince has actually described who he is as a prince and all that is. And the sage has understood. The sage has understood. He also knew that he was raising this daughter only for this person. That's it. They were supposed to get married. That was the story. And the sage already knew about it. So naturally, whatever is good that is going to come out of it, he says to this boy, this young man, he says, yeah, I know you want to marry her. Okay. So you do one thing, you take this girl and go with her. Alright. So and this is where we have come to the end of verse 46 and we will stop over here.